It's definitely not a regular through hike, that's for sure.
You definitely should not underestimate this trail.
Like, you could fall down a canyon and potentially no one would find you for a while.
I think a lot of the gnarly stuff is like really fun actually though. At least it is fun.
So much more dense with cool stuff than I expected.
This whole trail has been about problem solving. I didn't want to have a well-worn path to follow the whole way. I wanted to kind of figure this stuff out on my own. Everybody can find something out here for themselves. It's just about finding the thing that you enjoy doing and looking for the metaphors in it. Okay, back on the trail after 3 days. I got into Hanksville 2 days ago, stayed the night, and there was a crazy windstorm coming through. It actually knocked the power out to the whole town for a few hours yesterday. Today the wind had died down in town, but obviously, as you can hear, it's still pretty windy out here. It is a cold wind too. I have another 100+ mile section coming up tonight and tomorrow. I'll be going over the Henry Mountains, which I'm really looking forward to. That terrain will be a little bit more familiar to me at least. I'm getting kind of a late start today because it was so cold last night. That wind was just relentless. It kept up all night long. I think the lowest I saw on my watch was 27 degrees, but that's without wind chill. And I was rudely awakened by a turkey. That's what got me out of bed. This morning the wind has finally died down, and I'm very glad for that because I'm going up and over the Henry Mountains today, and if it was still that windy, I don't know if I could do it. Sure feels good to be walking through trees again. I've been living around trees my whole life, and every time I go outside there are always trees. Just one of the many aspects that have been a shock to the system of hiking through the desert. It's that familiarity that kind of brings us comfort in life, but it can also be kind of a trap. Because when you're constantly living in familiarity, you're never experiencing anything new. So it's a conscious effort that we have to make to get ourselves outside of familiarity. That's where all the growth happens. Well, this feels like another milestone. This is Bull Creek Pass. And this is the divide between the Henry Mountains where I can see on both sides of them now. So it's at this pass where the trail actually leaves the road and has me going cross country up there basically. There's still another 1,000 vertical feet to the south summit of Mount Ellen. But as you can see, there's still quite a bit of snow up there. And at this point I'm kind of thinking that it's not worth it to go all the way up there. Alright, disregard everything I just said about not going up. Just trying to make the best of the situation, I decided to go up another peak which was on the other side. Once I got up a little bit higher, I looked back to this peak and I saw a much better route that I could climb up. I'm really glad I found a way up here, but I definitely paid for it. That was so steep. And the air is really thin, and I'm not acclimated to that yet. I think in the past couple days of trail, I've gone from like 4,000 feet to it's about 11,500 feet up here. I'm gonna need a good long break. So that's kind of cool. You can barely see them way back in the distance, but there's some more mountains way back there. And I think those are the La Salles. Those look so close when we started in Arches. So that's about how far I've walked. Well, today's going to be a whole lot different than yesterday. The Henry Mountains were awesome, but they were pretty short-lived. It was only one day up and over. And you can actually see them behind me now. Just met up with this road. So I'll be road walking for a little bit today. And then it looks like another one of those places where there's only one entrance into the canyon. And usually when those are marked on the map, they're pretty sketchy. I just left the road for another descent into a canyon. So in other words, I just left the known to enter the unknown. When entering the unknown, it's really important to do it deliberately and with enough preparation that you can at least figure out what to do once you get there.
That's also what we like. I think a lot of long distance hikers just the unknown. It's also similar what we have here on trail sometimes. Just walk and you don't really know what's ahead of you. It's similar in real life, maybe. To see my first bear, to see a wolf, it's just crazy. No people around, the solitude. Which also makes it a little bit scary sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if you hike alone.
It's real. It's like if you fuck up, you know, like you could die. Like you can run out of water, especially in the desert here. And so, yeah, the reality of it makes it definitely more intense, which is great in ways, but also can be terrifying in ways.
Yeah, it's not that hard and it's not that scary once you're out here. I don't know. If you've hiked other stuff before, you can probably do it, but you shouldn't, because the best part, like I said, is that there aren't a million people out here.
Another huge descent, but I have found a couple cairns already, so that really gives me hope. That takes a lot of the unknown out of the equation. Then you just have to deal with the terrain, and all that takes really is really slow, careful, methodical climbing down. I have to keep reminding myself that I'm out here alone, just to take my time. It wasn't so bad. Later on today, I'll be coming to the junction where about 4 different alternate routes branch off, and I'll have to pick one to get into my next town stop, which is Escalante. I'm at another transition area in the landscape now. Behind me, I just exited Mully Canyon, and up in front of me, that's the water pocket fold. Well, my stoke level is pretty low right now. The wind is back, and it's just really annoying. I'm running low on water, and the water that I do have is pretty bad. It's really alkaleic. I'm pretty sunburnt, so with all those factors combined, I'm not really having a great time right now. But that's just how it goes. There are ups and downs on these trails, and this is just kind of a down. I chose the shorter alternate route to go into Escalante. This one is only about 60 miles compared to the other one I was looking at, which was about 80 miles. It's still gonna have good scenery, this one, but it's a little bit shorter, so that's partly why I chose it. But the thing with these alternate routes, either one of them, is that I don't have the maps or any guidebook descriptions for them. All I have are some waypoints which I plugged into my phone. What the maps were super useful for was that they told me where the water was, or at least where I could hope to find water. And I can kind of guess by looking at the topography of the land where water might be, but that's all I'm doing at this point is guessing. And I could really use some good fresh water right now, but it looks like I might not find any for the rest of the day. This is the kind of day I've been having. Been looking for water all day, and then I just slipped and stepped in that puddle by accident. Of course, it's not water that I can drink, but it's a good coating on my shoe. My stoke level just went up a couple points. I found a day hiker going back to his car, and he had a little bit of water that he could spare. I really hate to ask somebody out here for water, but when you need it, sometimes you kind of have to suck up your pride and ask for help. And now I have some water for tonight. Now if somebody could just turn off the wind, that would be nice. I just climbed out of the Mully Twist Canyon in Capitol Reef, and it has been a super long day. I am totally exhausted, physically and emotionally. The wind doesn't show any sign of dying down, and I don't see any good place to camp out of it. But hopefully I can find some water tomorrow. That's all that's really on my mind right now. Most of the nights I've been cowboy camping, which means that I don't set up my tent. I just lay it down on the ground and then sleep on top of it. So that's what I was doing last night. And then around 3 or 4 a.m. I started feeling rain, and it turned out to be snow. Nothing that amounted to anything, but I did have to get up and set my tent up in the middle of the night. I'm in a little bit better of a mood this morning. Hopeful that I'll actually find water. That's my main concern. I can tell I'm really thirsty now because that little bit of crappy alkaline water that I have left is starting to taste pretty good. I know that I have enough water to get me through like maybe half the day, and after that I'll be out. I've entered something like a famine mindset now that all I want to do is find water. But it's important to remember to still make rational decisions in this sort of a mindset. And seeing as how I'm not in a place where there's going to be any water, I'm just going to try and get through this area until I get to the next canyon or wash area or something like that. Those are the places where water gets concentrated, and I'll have a much better chance of finding it there. Water! Yeah! It's a dirty old cow pond, but I don't care. can't believe I found water out here. This is the place I was trying to get through just so I could find some water in the canyons. But there's a pond out here. Yes. I feel like a different person now. And this water actually tastes really good, believe it or not. The filter removes a lot of the color. It comes out of the pond looking like this. And then after I filter it, it looks like this, which is pretty surprising. I'm thinking this might be kind of a recurring theme on this hike. Brief periods of no water, and it's gonna feel like it takes forever to find it, but realistically it was only like a day. And I imagine that's gonna happen a whole bunch more times on this hike. But I'm pretty confident that I can always find the water eventually, as long as I keep moving. Things can be very chaotic out here as compared to regular life, which is much more stable. And when things are chaotic, that's when our perception of time tends to shrink. Out here we're dealing on a scale of hours and days instead of weeks and years. I'm not worried about what happened even a couple days ago, because that feels like a long time ago already, and it's kind of pointless to worry about what's going to happen next week, because that is a long way off. That's like 100 miles away from me. And as a result, I'm kind of forced into the present moment, and that always has much better effects on the future outcome. So my goal is to get to right there. There's a little bit of a pass in between those two big walls, and that'll be my entrance into Egg Canyon. Petrified trees, huge ones. Through hiking gives me an idea of what it must be like to be bipolar. I have way more mood swings out here than I do in regular life. Normally I'm pretty stable, but out here I feel like it just fluctuates from high to low so quickly and so extremely.
And like one day you can go through every emotion that you would feel in like a lifetime. You could, be terrified, joyous, kind of nostalgic and lonely, and then have deep connections with other people.
I've noticed that there are thought patterns that tend to lead me into a good or a bad mood. Then things just compound from there. If I'm in a bad mood out here, then bad things start to happen. That's why it's so important to be aware of what's going on in our mind, to keep an eye on it, because our mind kind of has a mind of its own. And if we aren't aware of what's going on and controlling it in a way, things can spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Through hiking has given me a lot of stability. It's really what helps me cope with all the things in my life. I'm also very much an introvert. So I spend 9 months of the year outside my shell, and then for 3 months of the year I get to hike and be inside my shell and kind of recharge.
It doesn't flow with our normal society in a lot of ways. You're like, what are you really doing out there? You're just wasting a bunch of time. I don't know, a lot of people can't appreciate it, especially older people who, maybe they had to really struggle through their life and work their whole life. We live in a different age where you really can work if you want to, 6 months out of the year, and then not work for 6 months out of the year if you live within your means. Just with the ultralight movement and stuff, I feel like it's the opposite spectrum of the materialism aspect of our society, that people are okay, how far can I go in the other direction? And people's backpacks are this big, and you can I don't know, all you need is just some simple things.
Holy crap, it was cold last night. Definitely the coldest night so far. I think it got down to like 10 degrees. All my water was frozen solid in the morning, and I didn't sleep very much. So once the sun came up, I'd slept in another few hours. So I'm getting a real late start this morning. I'm only about 20 miles from town. I don't really plan on getting there until tomorrow, so today's the first day where I feel like I can actually take it easy. I actually have more food than I thought I did, so I can eat as much as I want, which is really nice. Ow, fuck. I'm walking on this really steep sandstone. Just rolled my ankle. This alternate has actually turned out to be really cool. So I don't really have any regrets about taking the shorter alternate. Maybe the other ones would have been even better, but I'm enjoying this one a lot. Here's one of those things that was way too sketchy to film because I could not do it more than once. I just came down from up there, came to that little pour off, and I had to get over this huge puddle, huge disgusting puddle. And I had to make the jump from right there all the way to here. One of the things that has made the Hayduke Trail really unique compared to other thru hikes is that there's kind of a lot of those high intensity moments. They're really brief, but really important because one wrong move could mean disaster. That's one of those things where over preparation can make things worse, and you kind of just have to stop thinking for a minute and just make the move. So this has been my morning so far. It's about 32 degrees and this is the third time I've had to cross the Boulder Creek already. This is some cold water. But at least I'm by water and it's good and clean and fresh. So I'm not too upset. I don't mind the river crossing so much, but that brush sucks. Keep getting slapped in the face with prickers. I'm almost out of Boulder Creek. It'll merge with the Escalante River, and I'm hoping that'll be much wider and easier to get through. They're pretty faint, but I've been finding some petroglyphs all along this river. It's sort of a circle there. Something next to it. So I've been crossing the Escalante River about every quarter mile, maybe more often. My feet are just kind of permanently numb right now. But I'm like 12 miles away from town, and that's pretty much all that's on my mind right now, so that's gonna keep me moving. And just like that, I'm in town again. Escalante. My feet are soaked and full of sand, but I don't care. I'm in town. Been a lot of ups and downs in this section, but overall, especially the past few days, have been pretty good. So I'm looking forward to what's next, but first of all, I'm looking forward to a good break. The trail register says something about trust the log when you get to the drop. This log doesn't look super trustworthy, but I guess I don't really have a choice.